Hi. Um, this is not going to be a very easy episode to record. I'm just asking that you please forgive me for any tears that might come about. I'm sure I'll probably get extremely emotional. I'm going to be talking about some stuff that's really difficult for me to talk about. Um, but now that the warning is out of the way, hi, I'm Kelly. I am the host and founder of the Antler Queens podcast, which expanded into Cyborg Queen Media, which you can find on YouTube at youtube.com/at slash at Cyborg Queen Media. Um, we started covering The Walking Dead, Cruel Summer, which has now been canceled, so that's over with. And we have a Reddit podcast that we actually are doing on this second channel here. Um, the first channel is mostly still going to be the Antler Queens and the Daryl Dixon podcast. The second channel, which is what you're watching right now, Cyborg Queen 2, is going to be basically for internet commentary. Cyborg DisCo, which is my new disability and mental health show. That's what this is going on, what this particular episode is going on. And basically anything new that we're experimenting with or any kind of internet commentary that's not TV. So it's kind of our playground, if you will. And I just realized I have a piece of tape stuck to my sweater. So anyway, I started the Antler Queens podcast in March of 2022. I picked out I picked out a spot on Anchor. I reserved a spot on Anchor and a couple of social media profiles and thought, you know what? I'm gonna maybe like I wasn't sure how I was gonna approach finding a co-host. I thought, well, maybe I'll bring people in, rotate them for a while, or if I find somebody who seems like they're really good, maybe I'll just ask them to join me right off the bat. And the first person, I put up a message in a Yellow Jackets group, which I'm now banned from. Um, and I'm banned from the group on Facebook because people were harassing me. And I was told that there was a post in there um, about this situation that I'm discussing. And so I just sent a message to the group admins and asked, just basically saying, "Hey, I'm getting harassed. Can you please put a stop to this? Do something about it." And I got banned um, without any communication or anything. Um, so anyway, back before that, way before that happened, I put up a message in that group saying, "Hey, I'm starting a Yellow Jackets podcast, and I'd like to talk to potential co-hosts." The first person that responded was Melanie, who currently hosts Yellow Jackets Hive podcast. Um, she seemed to have decent experience, and I had none, which so that was a huge plus. And I talked to her, I Zoomed with her, and I told her I laid out exactly what the format was going to be like for this podcast. Um, I had very specific ideas in mind. I wanted it to be very um, kind of community based and interactive and have fans on as much as possible. And I, also explained that I'm disabled. And so accessibility and inclusion are really big priorities for me. Um, and that was something, that I was always going to place higher priority on above anything else. So she seemed on board for my vision, totally on board, and wanted to, be a full fledged partner, and so I brought her on as my co-host. Um, like I said, this was my first podcast ever. I really didn't know what I was doing. Um, we met a couple of times, and we had a few planning meetings before we went in with our first episode, and we made a to-do list together. And I had set up a drive so we could, share documents on there and everything. Um, One of the things that she put on the to-do list was create a partner agreement. So I had some time one day and I went to the to-do list to check to see what else she had on there, to see what I could start working on right away. And a whole bunch of she had erased a whole bunch of items. And one of them was the partner agreement thing. Now remember, she's somebody who has podcasting experience under her belt already. So it was her idea to put a partner agreement on there. When she erased it, I was like, okay, whatever. I don't even know how important that is. So I didn't even question it. But clearly, it was something that she decided was not a good idea. Then, when we decided how we were going to split up the finances, um, basically, she reserved the domain. And I told her, okay, let me, I'll pay you for my half of it right now. Just tell me how much I owe you. And she explained that because of her business, it gets tricky with the taxes and everything. And I can't totally remember the like exact explanation she gave me. But she said, the less money that changes hands, the better. And we'll just make sure everything evens out in our expenses. Once we have accounts with a streaming platform and um, whatever else we needed, our podcasting host, there's our website, whatever. Um, I was like, okay, that's fine. We'll make sure that that we're just kind of both paying an equal amount into the show, and that's cool. Um, so also she also set up the Apple Podcast account. Um, and then my expenses were I was paying for the website, and or she was paying for the website, I think. I was paying for StreamYard and for Podbean and for TubeBuddy. Um, and it it was kind of, it was kind of all equal. So anyway, that's kind of a little intro that I'm including in here because that's not in my presentation that I'm about to show you guys. And I'm sorry, I have allergies. My nose is really itchy. So I might be scratching my nose a few times. But the reason that I have this presentation put together is because a popular commentary YouTuber, um, I had connected with them and they asked me to send them all of my evidence. I told them about the story. They asked me to send them all of my evidence. So I thought I would put it together um, in this cute little presentation slash video. Um, I have blurred out last names in this presentation. Um, I am not trying to protect anybody. It is very easy to find out who is involved in this, just based on the first names and the fact that they're all on my channel. The reason that I blurred out last names is because last names can change, and if they ever one day become decent people, um, this isn't attached to them for good. So, um, let's get into it. Okay. I am, I'm just going to bring up 1 second here. Okay, I'm just gonna bring up my presentation here. You will be able to find this on all of my, personal social media accounts. You will not find this on the Cyborg Queen Media social media accounts for now, because I would rather just keep it all here. Um, so my presentation, first page, as you can see, I defended myself against ableist bullying and have PTSD as a result. These are a few of the receipts. Yes, I am currently in therapy for PTSD. Um, because of this, I couldn't afford therapy for a long time, but last year, um, I was able to raise money to have a surgery that I greatly needed, because I was in pain 24/7 for over a year. And when I had the surgery, that took up my max out of pocket costs for my insurance. So therapy for the rest of the year was free. Um, and then I realized that I would have to stop going in January, but my amazing therapist uh, set up an arrangement where I have to pay only a very, very, very tiny amount. And I see her like every other week. So I'm really, really grateful for that. It's still more than I can really afford because I can't afford anything. But I'm so grateful that I'm able to keep seeing her because I'm not doing well. I haven't felt safe as a content creator ever since this happened. I do have a disclaimer at the bottom here. While the evidence in this presentation may leave little to no doubt about certain events, it is important to note that all information is alleged unless and until proven otherwise in a court of law. The reason that I put that is because this is an emotional topic. And while none of this evidence is doctored in any way, in fact, I included a lot of duplicate parts of messages just so you can see that I didn't cut anything off. Um, it's emotional, and I might say something and present something as fact that I don't have evidence for. Um, if I do, it's not deliberate, but I don't know what I might, I don't know what I might accidentally say. But the proof in this video um, speaks for itself. I mean, it doesn't leave any room for doubt. There is supposedly um, a I I've been accused of being very one-sided with my story. There is no other side. I have not accused them of anything that is not documented in here. There is no other side. My ex co-host Kelly told somebody that she thought that Melanie and Emily were the devil until she until she heard their side of the story, which means that, and she's not the only one who said that, which means either people are just choosing to believe them without them providing any proof, or they are manufacturing evidence that didn't exist previously, that they just doctored and made up. Unfortunately, nobody has had the guts to tell me what their side of the story is or if they have shown them any evidence. And uh, that's just absolute bullshit. Um, but yeah, let's get into it. Um, so the too long didn't read version. Me and Emily were my co-hosts on the Antler Queens podcast slash YouTube channel. We used a Facebook group chat as our primary source of communication. I have an eye condition that acts up every winter and sometimes need to wear sunglasses. Unfortunately, Melanie and Emily, because she's a follower, and you'll see what I mean when we get into the messages, because this was totally Melanie, um, it being the ringleader here, and Emily, for whatever reason, even though I basically made Emily a podcaster, um, Emily went along with Melanie. Uh, they felt that me wearing sunglasses was so embarrassing and unprofessional that it was worth bullying me over and breaking up over. Um, they started a new channel the day after we broke up called Yellow Jackets Hive, saying it was improved. They copied my format completely. Um, they even we had set our after show name as Antler Queens After Dark. Um, and they even went ahead and kept the After Dark name for their after show, um, naming it Hive After Dark. And what's so funny about that is I made a comment about that in my Patreon, and few minutes later, um, I got a message sent to me that Melanie must have been in my Patreon. So thanks for the bucks, the Patreon bucks, Melanie, if that's the case. Um, I got a message with a screenshot of a tweet that she had made saying that Hive After Dark, um, that the After Dark name, that Melanie came up with it because she was on a 90210 podcast, and there was Peach Pit After Dark, and Emily liked this tweet. And what's so funny about that is Melanie did not come up with the After Dark name. It was Emily. We were trying to come up with a name for it, and Emily spit out Antler Queens After Dark, and we were like, "Yeah, that sounds great. Let's go with that." So, anyway, that's just it's hilarious. Um, but anyway, they copied my format completely, spied on me relentlessly. I never look at their profiles ever. People send me screenshots of stuff they're saying sometimes, and sometimes I appreciate it, sometimes I don't, and just wish it was never sent to me because I just wanna pretend that they don't exist, but unfortunately, that's not really a possibility anymore. Um, but they review bombed me like crazy, and how I knew it was them was that, a couple of people that I know are in their camp, had changed their five-star ratings to one-star ratings after they left, and, we got hit with, like, new one-star ratings every day. I'd never had a one-star rating before, but also, when we started Cruel Summer Camp, even before our first episode, um, when we had just, like, reserved the space, we got a one-star rating. I think that's what happened. It was either that or it was, like, right after the episode went up, we got a one-star rating with no review. Um, so it was quite obvious, who was doing it because I mean, we literally hadn't even had any downloads yet, and we got a one-star rating, so it's kinda crazy. Um, accused me of theft, you will see that in here, and sent over 30 false privacy reports to YouTube to have almost every one of my videos removed. That is against YouTube's terms of service to abuse their reporting tools. And YouTube informed me that they were going to that they would delete their channel, um, because of this abuse. And it never happened, unfortunately. And because of that, they've been allowed to exist on YouTube and continue to grow their following and have a platform to harass me. Um, during this time, when they were doing all of this, they knew that I was desperately trying to come up with money for surgery to get me out of being in pain 24/7. It was literally 24/7. I have CRPS. And right after Melanie and I started the Antler Queens, I took a nasty fall. Um, I have a stimulator in my back, a DRG stimulator, which keeps me out of pain. And when I fell, one of the leads broke. Um, it it was my stimulator just wasn't usable anymore. Um, so I had to turn it off, and I didn't have a working stimulator anymore. So for the next year and some months, um, like 16 months or something like that, I was in nonstop pain, constant pain, never went away. It was awful. Um, when we broke up, Melanie tried to come up with other excuses as to why the sunglasses thing was the last straw, and they basically had to do with the only two things that she could come up with were, well, she also complained about the fact that the months of November and December, um, I couldn't work on stuff as much as I had been. I did, but I still did all of the editing. I still did all of the graphics, all of that stuff, all of the behind the scenes stuff I did. Um, but I couldn't do as much because the pain had gotten so unbearable. And in November, I had my first incident where I felt shamed because of my physical situation. And the things changed after that. And I just didn't feel safe on the show. And I was I spent the next month trying to figure out how to approach this. Um, and unfortunately, it, we did an episode where I had to wear sunglasses, and we had it was the black box episode. Um, and I didn't say a whole lot during that episode. And the reason for that is because Melanie had been making me feel bad about wearing sunglasses. And when she saw me pop online with my sunglasses on, her attitude was just off. It was just off right away. I couldn't get a word in. I wanted to explain why I was wearing sunglasses, and I didn't even have that opportunity. It's the first time that I ever felt like I could not get a word in, like she just did not want me to talk. Um, I felt that during the entire episode, and it was so uncomfortable. Um, so she used me not talking very much during that episode as an excuse for why we should, why the sunglasses thing was the last straw. The other thing was that, I had found out that Melissa McBride was returning to the Walking Dead universe, and, Melissa McBride plays Carol, and Carol is my favorite character of all time. And when I found that out, I told them, "Yeah, I'm probably gonna do some sort of podcast when that happens. I don't know when it's gonna happen. I have no idea. I mean, I know nothing yet." It was just kind of like tossing it around. And Melanie's response to that was, "Well, you don't have time to do everything you need to do now," knowing that I had a health condition that was putting me in great amounts of pain. Um, That I would hope to be that I would hope to have, um, fixed by the time I'd be starting another podcast. Um, and I did, fortunately. But, and the whole Carol thing and the Walking Dead podcast was kind of just like, I mean, it was just something that I was tossing around in my head, and it was not gonna be any time in the very near future. Um, Carol still is not back. She's back. I mean, she's been filming, and the book of Carol is going to be aired this summer. So that's when we will see her. But I mean, it was just she was trying to find reasons to come up with. It was very bizarre. Um, but they basically just copied my format and then tried to destroy me and deplatform me. So essentially, the goal here was to steal my show. Um, I changed passwords on the accounts when I realized that they were trying to do this. And I told them, I will happily give you the new passwords. Um, as long as we can all like get back on the same page and you guys understand the situation here. And I mean, I couldn't I couldn't work in a situation where I wasn't safe and where I was being targeted with ableism. Um, and instead of saying, instead of reaching out, they basically just blocked me from the accounts that they had access to. So they took over. They banned me from my own Reddit, and then used it to funnel traffic to their own new subreddit. So anyway, this was one of the first things that happened. This was Melanie posting this from the Antler Queens account. Somebody posted, "Wait, there's a new actress playing Aquila in season 2." And the Antler Queens profile responded, "Breaking news, right? Maybe we need to discuss on a Twitter space or Instagram." So Melanie and I both had access to this account at the time. This was Melanie who posted this. She knew that I was not um on social media a lot of the time because of my health. And she tagged herself and Emily about going live and not me, um, knowing that I wasn't on Twitter frequently at the time. And this, I'm guessing, is most likely because she was embarrassed by me because of my ongoing need to wear sunglasses. Both of them continue to deny that this was ever posted. It's right there. I mean, I had the screenshot, and they both just denied it to my face that this was ever posted. So these are the messages. Um, I'm not including every single message here, but I'm only omitting the most trivial stuff for the purpose of space. I'm more than happy to add anybody to our group chat if they want, so they can see every single message in the entire Facebook group chat to see that nothing is doctored. This was a private chat between just me, Melanie, and Emily. And I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can read it all. So on December 10th, um, we were gonna record an episode within the next couple of days. And I said, "Hey, do you guys think I should try an eye patch for the next episode if my blepharitis is still really bad, or should I just wear sunglasses again? The right eye isn't a cosmetic issue." At the time, it wasn't a cosmetic, or I'm sorry. At the time, it was just um, the left eye. Sometimes it's just the right, and sometimes it's both. So if it's both, obviously I'm wearing sunglasses, and an eye patch is not going to cut it. But I said the right eye isn't a cosmetic issue, so I could just cover the left. Also, the lights bother me when this is flaring up, and it's just really hideous to look at. Melanie responds with, "I will be honest, I don't like either option. I got some comments that it looks out of place and distracting." I responded, "That's not an issue. And honestly, it really upsets me that people would say that since it's a medical issue. That's definitely not okay." Melanie said, "I get that I can't help the people, but coming from a professional producer standpoint, in turn, she's a stage manager, which is scary because this would be illegal if it happened at her job. And she's saying that they would have somebody sit out. In talks with a major network, we were working with Showtime at the time, and producing live TV, we would have that host sit out until resolved. I get that we aren't at that level, but we can always reschedule when it flares up and do it another time." No, it was flaring up constantly. Um, and I don't want to hide. I don't want to hide I don't want to hide because of my condition. Um, But like I said, that would be illegal if she asked somebody to sit out at her job, um, because they had an eye issue and had to wear sunglasses. So I said, "That's an inclusion issue, though, which 100% goes against a more important message. I can't be a disabled person and not have a podcast that doesn't promote accessibility. That's my worst nightmare, literally." Um, Emily said, "Would we honestly be able to tell anything is going on without the glasses?" Melanie said, "Would blue blockers hide it?" And me answering Emily, "Yes, for sure, it's swollen shut." Me answering Melanie, "Not if they're not transparent." Because obviously it was a gross situation. I mean, it was bad. Um, and I said, "We absolutely have to put inclusion first unless it's something that makes a host not functional." Melanie said, "Can't we just reschedule for when it's not flared up? Is it a daily thing?" And I'm sorry, you can't really see this message completely, but I said, "It sometimes goes away, but it's unpredictable as to when it's going to be bad. It's been swollen shut for like 4 days." And this is a lot. So I'm going to try to just pick out the really important messages here. You guys can see all of this. I will put a link to this presentation in the show notes. So if you want, and also on the community tab. So if you want to look at all of these later, you can. Um, but I said, this should have been it. Me saying this. I said, please just think about this from an ableism standpoint and how much harm it could cause. Melanie responds with, "If it was me, I would sit out personally because I am mindful of our image." Um, I get emotional whenever I read that because it just made me feel like such garbage. Um, it I honestly had never come across anybody that was that deliberately hurtful. Like, I'd never seen anybody behave like that before in my life. Um, so I responded, "This is really insensitive and hurtful. I'm in tears right now." And she writes, "But again, I work in live TV and look at it as a producer." Um, Emily said, "We are just trying to be mindful of the fact that we have eyes on us." Melanie said something that should never come out of any adult's mouth. "I am sorry you feel that way." If someone's gaslighting you, that's an appropriate response. That's the only time. And obviously, there was no gaslighting on my part here, as you can see very plainly. And she said, "I'm sorry you feel that way. Like I said, I would sit out anytime I'm sick or having issues. So I guess I didn't see it that way. But I got multiple messages about the sunglasses. I cannot help the feedback and was sharing to be open about what people are saying." No, she didn't. I'm sorry. I don't believe that for a second that she got people messaging. Why would people be messaging her about her co-host wearing sunglasses? It, that makes absolutely no sense. I don't buy it. I don't buy that for a second. She pulled that out of her ass. Um, I responded, "I can't do this anymore," meaning I can't keep talking about this. It's not okay. It's ableism. Addressing it on the show is enough. End of story. Hoping that that would end it. And Melanie just kept getting worse. She said, "Well, I don't appreciate being accused of that." That is not how you respond. If someone tells you that something is racist or ableist or homophobic, you don't ever respond to them with, "Well, I don't appreciate being accused of that." That is not how you respond. I if someone tells you that something is racist or ableist or homophobic or transphobic, you say, and you genuinely don't think that you said anything that that was bigoted, you respond with, "I'm sorry. Please tell me what I did wrong so I can know better for the future and not hurt people anymore." Um, but you need empathy to do that. And as you can see from these messages, Melanie has 0. Um, she said, "Well, I don't appreciate being accused of that because that is not where I am coming from. I'm sorry you see it that way. I'm the disabled person. I'm the expert. Um, we have hosts sit out all the time for things in TV, so I don't see how it's different." And I said, "It's not an accusation, it's what's happening." And it was. Emily said, "If we want this show to end up becoming something much bigger, we have to portray an image of professionalism. That's all that's being said." My sunglasses are somehow preventing that. I said, "Non disabled people don't understand this. I am the expert on that, and it is morally wrong to leave out a host because of a medical issue that doesn't hurt functionality. Some blind people don't feel comfortable without sunglasses. We wouldn't say no blind guests." And Melanie said, "As someone who has sat out of things for being sick or having issues myself, it never bothered me. So I guess I have a hard time wrapping my head around it." Um, she said, "Right, but allergies are temporary and blindness is forever." No, this is not temporary. I have had this since I've had this for over 10 years. I said, "It's still a medical issue and it's not temporary. I've had it since 2013. And I'm really feeling like complete useless garbage right now. If you guys don't understand why this is such a huge problem, then we have a much bigger issue." And Emily, I just I'm sorry. I don't want to sound ableist myself here, but this is just not a very intelligent response. Um, None of what is being said is targeted at being disabled whatsoever. That's not what ableism is. It's what she's getting at is that they're treating me this way because I'm disabled. And if a non-disabled person was having this issue, they wouldn't treat them that. No, that's not what ableism is. I don't understand why this concept is so difficult to understand. And she said that the way we present ourselves matters. Um, yeah, actually, what matters more than that is not being a bigot and excluding disabled people, especially someone like me who has told you um, about the trauma that I experienced at 2 jobs because of ableism. Um, I wrote, "This is a chronic medical condition that doesn't affect functionality. It just requires that I cover the affected eye." Kelly Clarkson even wore an eye patch on her show for quite a while. "It is 100% far more important to project an image of inclusiveness and accessibility than anything else." We stopped after that, and then later on that night, I came back and said, "Hey, I needed to take a breather because this is something really painful that I've dealt with a lot. I know no one's intention is to be ableist. It's something that we all do, myself included, meaning we're all of us are accidentally ableist from time to time. Um, Disabled people are the most guilty of bigotry within their own group because we don't it's not like, there's a Black experience, there's a trans experience, although that differs greatly as well. Um, there's, the experience of being gay, which, everybody has very similar experiences, but when you're disabled, um, it's much different. I don't know what it's like to be blind. I don't know what it's like to be deaf. I don't know what it's like, to be an amputee, and, someone who's blind or deaf doesn't understand what it's like to be unless they have another condition associated with it. They don't understand what it's like to be in pain 24/7. They don't understand what it's like um, to have a a leg that barely functions, um, that constantly goes numb. Um, we can't possibly understand those things. We're more sensitive about how we treat disabled people than non-disabled people are, but we still don't know anything. So we are all accidentally ableist from time to time. Um, but I said I'm very mindful of our image, very as well, very much so. I'm not disregarding that. I just think it's important that we don't prioritize specific uniformity over inclusion and accessibility. I just wanted to share a few instances of celeb hosts who were in this same situation. And I'm definitely more comfortable wearing an eye patch than sunglasses now that I think about it, as that makes it more obviously necessary. That's just how I felt at the time. I mean, I feel differently now. But so the next bunch of messages were me just basically sending them instances of times where hosts wore eye patches or sunglasses because of a medical condition. Um, so I heard nothing back from them after I sent them all of that. And the next day, I wrote, I'd like to schedule a time that we're all available to chat about this. The sooner the better. Are you both available this evening? We can just chat in here or hop on Zoom. Though I hate that Zoom cuts off after a time limit, I just want to get this resolved ASAP since it's kind of handcuffing everything right now. I'll be free after 4 o'clock Central Time. Um, we I don't want to give you guys the wrong idea. We weren't like meeting to discuss business stuff that regularly or anything, but we were constantly in this group chat of ours was so active. We were constantly texting back and forth like all throughout the day, every day, just about random stuff. And stuff related to the podcast and stuff related to TV shows we were watching or whatever. Um, so you can see on here the timestamps. 1:20 p.m. in the afternoon, 6:41 p.m. in the evening. Um, the only time that we've ever gone that long without a message in between was like, if it was the middle of the night. Um, and this was the next day. So all of that other stuff, me sending them the stories about hosts wearing sunglasses and eye patches, that was the day before. Um, so I hadn't heard from them at all. And I checked in with them that afternoon. Um, I said I was available after 4. And by 4 o'clock, I heard nothing from them. And I started really getting the feeling like, okay, this they're trying to they're trying to basically push me out. Um, and I had my suspicions that they could try to steal the show out from under me. And I was not about to let that happen. So, for the purpose of security, I changed the passwords on everything. And I figured, we'll talk about it when they get back to me. They didn't get back to me. I just got notifications that I was banned from my own subreddit, and that I kicked out of a few other accounts that I didn't change the passwords on, um, rather than them getting in touch with me. And so after I got this, I was like, "Wow, that's really ridiculous and juvenile." So I wrote back, "It's really a shame. I was more than happy to help you guys understand why this was inarguably wrong and illegal if it happened in a company, and you chose to just freeze me out instead." This is one of the cruelest things I've ever seen. I had to change the passwords to keep myself safe, but I was still willing to work things out." And Emily writes, "I think a conversation needs to be had amongst the three of us so we can all be the same across the board." Yeah, I tried that already. And I said I got no response after essentially being bullied, which is exactly what that was. It was bullying. But there was an immediate response to me changing passwords. Um, so she says, "I'm open to talking. So you let me know when you want to." I talked about gaslighting. I mean, I said, so I responded, I said, "I'm free all evening." So I think the next, um, I already told you guys this explanation here. I already told you guys what that was. Um, but I, the rest, a lot of it is just us trying to find time to schedule something. And then I even said, if you guys are willing to just say, "Hey, let's move on," and acknowledge that you understand and empathize with why this was hurtful for me, I'm happy to put it off as long as you need to and give you guys access again. I just did that for safety reasons because of stuff that's happened to me in the past. I want to move past this. I just want to know that you guys understand why this was hurtful for me. Emily says, "I want nothing more than this podcast to be successful. That's been my main goal since day one." She came in much later, by the way. And Melanie said, "I agree with Emily." So no acknowledgement of what I said. So I said, "Okay, but we can't do that if it's an unsafe environment for one of us." And Melanie said, "I was in no way trying to make anyone feel unsafe." Wow. Well, you did. Um, and so, I I just kind of went off. I said, "Okay, well, here's the problem. I can't restore access until there's trust. And so far, nothing has been resolved. And I still don't feel safe. And I realize that you've done all the work at establishing our Reddit community, Emily, but it's still linked to the show. So while I realize I haven't been able to be active in Reddit, I still need to have full administrator access. Right now, you're the only one that has that. It's important that anything Antler Queens related is accessible to me. I consider us all equal partners in the show, but as this is something that I started with a really important vision that is being lost, I need to be considered the final authority. I want this to work out, but right now there's lack of trust. And if we don't get this resolved, I need to know that there isn't a subreddit using the name of the podcast that I founded." Well, guess what? There was. If you're both planning to step down, just tell me now so I can get someone new moved out, new lined up. I can't be removed from the podcast. I'm still the founder, but I was victimized, and yet somehow I feel like I'm the only one trying to work it out, which is insane to me. Um, Ableist term. See what I'm saying? Like accidental ableism. The word insane is very ableist. Don't use it. Um, I don't understand why compassion and empathy are such bad words. I even offered to bring in a mediator to help you guys understand. I offered to provide materials and responses from the people in my group, meaning this Facebook group that I'm in that kind of helps people navigate sensitive topics and delicate situations like this. Um, it would have taken 2 seconds for you both just to say, "I'm sorry, you were right. It was really unreasonable and you shouldn't be made to feel that way." Or, "Sure, I'd like to see the responses. Please send them." Or, "What tools do you suggest to help us better understand where we went wrong so this doesn't happen again?" And they just ignored that and just immediately, went more further into like, trying to schedule the Zoom. Um, and I left it as, "That's fine. I'll be up late. Let me know if you guys want me to try to get a hold of a disability mediator to join us, or if you want me to send you any info ahead of time. Like I said, I'm totally willing to help you guys understand anything that you feel you need help with. No one can be expected to perfectly understand something they don't have firsthand experience with. I just like to try to get a positive outcome from everything." So as you can see, like I could not have been more reasonable. Melanie responds with, to again, to my 87th offer of help, just responds with 6:45, 8:45, 9:45. Tomorrow it is. See you then. So I wrote, "Hey, I'll take that as a no. Lol." So then I wrote later on, I think this was the same day, um, or the next day, the day that we were going to be Zooming. I said, just please let me know ahead of time whether or not I'm walking into an unsafe situation so I can have my husband present. My big issue since all of this started has been the lack of reception to me offering many times to help you guys understand my situation. I've been on Xanax and crying since, and I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm going to be unfairly attacked. I only ever wanted you guys to understand. And Emily responded, oh, whoops. Oh, shoot. Well, I'm sorry, I'm missing a slide here. But anyway, basically, Emily responded, and I actually, you know what? I'm going to bring up the email right here. Hang on. Um, okay, I forgot that StreamYard has this handy little pause function, which is so fantastic. So I found the rest of the conversation and brought it up because this is important. So I said, okay, I'll take that as a no, lol. And I said, just please let me know ahead of time whether or not I'm walking into an unsafe situation so I can have yeah, I already read that. Sorry. Emily responded with, I don't think that's necessary. No one is attacking anyone. We're all adults. We can have a productive conversation. And I said, that's what I would hope, but I'm just so confused by the lack of response, considering I was trying to help you guys and was even acting like a damn cheerleader about it. Changing passwords only happened when my request to schedule a chat went unanswered. And Emily said, I asked for some time to process what's been happening. I'm sorry you felt ignored. That was not the intention. She never asked for that. So I said, but you asked for that after I went ignored. And she says, I made a mistake. I can't be penalized for that forever. I'm trying to apologize. So as you can see from the worst apology in the world, um, the martyr apology, the victim, the I'm the victim apology, um, she felt that she had something to apologize for. So if if this was so like if I was the bad guy here, then why is she apologizing? Um so I responded by saying that's not helpful because it wasn't. You should never apologize to anybody like that. That's terrible. Um and basically this is all just about, I don't understand. I'm really confused by your apology. Um and I just said I don't need an apology. I just need to know that you guys understand why it's unreasonable to ask me to compromise on something concerning my disability and then drop it and move on. I never had any desire to scold you guys, just help you understand. Sincere apologies are nice, but they're just words. Not everyone is good with them, and I get that. I only ever wanted understanding. That's why I joined that free emotional labor group, the group I mentioned earlier on Facebook. I said something once that I didn't realize at the time was kind of racially insensitive. So I asked the group to help me get it right. Um, and I said, I need to explain this because you can't understand the disabled perspective unless you've lived it. Because my offers to share resources weren't received, and there was some retaliation to me protecting myself, I can't help but feel like I'm going into a situation that will be harmful and dangerous for me. This is like the third time I think that I'm warning them about this. I just need you to know that I have extensive trauma from being bullied and rejected because of my health issues. So I just beg that you please don't use this as an opportunity to put me in the hot seat or judge me for something that I can't control. I'm serious when I say that could be really dangerous for me. And it's all I've been able to think about because of everything that has happened to me in the past. And there was absolutely no recognition of that here. Um, and I just set up the Zoom and that was it. Um, and this in the Zoom, um, and I wish to God that I could get a copy of this. It was not recorded, and I wish it was. I believe law enforcement can probably issue a subpoena, but I can't afford to hire an attorney, and you can't the laws in Indiana are I've looked into it. You can't really get if they were in the same state as me, then I could, maybe get a restraining order or something like that. Um, but you can't really do that when it's an interstate situation like this. I'm in Indiana, Melanie's in California, Emily is in Florida. But during the Zoom, that's all it was them attacking me. There was no accountability, none whatsoever. After I begged them, and I even went in, I can tell you because I have an incredible memory. Um, and if I ever get a hold of the recording, this is exactly what you will see on it. I started it off. Um, I told them I wanted to start. I wanted to start things off, and the way I started off was basically to say, "Look, we all have ADHD, and with that, um, one of the symptoms of ADHD. It's not for everybody, but it's not a symptom for everybody, but it's a symptom for a lot of us. Sometimes we just have trouble communicating effectively, and things come out wrong." Um, the reason that I was saying this is because I was still bending over backwards, trying to, um, trying to give them grace that they didn't deserve. And, it was basically me saying, like, "Hey, I understand if you guys, like, were coming across differently than you intended to." Um, and I just I was so kind to them through this whole experience when I was the one being bullied. Um, and I asked, "So with that said, how did we get here?" And Melanie was silent, and Emily just looked at me and said, "I don't know." I was expecting an answer from them because I did absolutely nothing wrong. Um, and Melanie spent the rest of the Zoom just berating me, for what a shitty podcast host I was, and just pulled out these excuses out of her ass for why the sunglasses thing was the last straw. And I told you what those excuses were, and they were complete bullshit. Um, and I had warned them that, like, this kind of thing could be really dangerous for me. And they still they still went in on me and attacked me. And Melanie, um, Melanie accused me of theft because I changed the passwords and didn't remove their credit card information, like, because all of our credit card information was in there. Um, and I didn't remove it because I really thought that we were gonna work things out. Um, because I was still trying and they weren't. I wasn't gonna let anything get charged to them if it didn't work out, and obviously I was gonna remove it, but I didn't remove it because I really thought that we were gonna work things out and I was gonna be giving them back the passwords. That's what I honestly thought. Um, and yeah, there was absolutely 0 accountability taken. Um, so let me bring this back up again. Um This bigger? No. Okay. All right. Um, so this was something that I tweeted while I was having a mental health crisis, which I was very much in the middle of. Um, so I was extremely traumatized. This was later on in March that this happened. And I worded this a little too strongly, which is why I deleted it. And I didn't mean to come off like I was yelling at everybody. Um, I mean, I stand by my words. If you still listen to or watch Yellow Jackets Hive, knowing everything that they did, then I don't have any use for you. Um, but I just it just came off bitchier than I wanted to sound. And so I tweeted out, um, the Antler Queen's Hive or the Yellow Jackets Hive kept my domain for me, so I was forced to change it. Now, when you enter theantlerqueens.com, it goes to their ableist site. I'm pretty sure this is illegal. And if you still listen to or watch them, you're just as bad. So obviously, it was a little harsh. The reason Yellow Jackets Hive shows up here is because that's what came up when you typed in Yellow Jackets Hive. Um, I deleted this shortly after I posted it, like I said, because I didn't mean to word it so harshly. Um, and I explained the whole thing about the finances. She's currently trying to sell theantlerqueens.com, which is, hilarious. I mean, I still have another procedure that I can't afford to have because I live on SSDI and still haven't made a dime from her podcast. Um, but who the hell is going to buy that anyway? I mean, the Antler Queens is it's a dead name. I mean, it's my show. Nobody else can use it for anything. I mean, I don't know why she'd be trying to sell it. Um, anyway, they were using it as the URL for their link in bio site for God knows how long. And I was only alerted to it in like 3 months after we over 3 months after we broke up. They changed it after I called them out publicly for it. Unfortunately, the Wayback Machine did not capture any images between 12/15/22 and 3/26/23. So the evidence is that is unavailable, but like I said, this came up. Um, you see their uh, their Linktree link and their logo because that's what came up when I typed in theantlerqueens.com in blue because there's a hyperlink there. Um, and sorry. Okay. So somebody by the name of it was like I don't know, it was like "fuck you, poo face" or something like that. I don't know. It was a throwaway Twitter account messaged me. Obviously, a burner account. Um, I still to this day have no idea who it was, but they messaged me just saying, "Melanie said you lied," and I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" Um, and I kind of got snappy with this person because I thought that they were trying to start shit, and I wasn't trying to I wasn't I I didn't wanna, go into the details of anything that happened at the time. So I didn't even understand, why they would be saying I lied about anything because I hadn't told anybody at that point what happened. So we later, eh, through talking with this person, who I still don't know who it was, we figured out that they saw me make some tweets about ableist behavior, and I wasn't even talking about them. I face ableism on a regular basis. Um, so it wasn't even about them, but the person thought it was, and messaged Melanie. I don't know if they messaged Melanie anonymously from a burner account. Um, it looks like this was on Facebook, and or if they used their real name, I have no idea. But basically, let me bring this up bigger so you guys can see it better. Um, they said, "What happened with you guys and Kelly?" And Melanie said, "We had some differences, so Emily and I decided it was a better fit for us to move forward with our own project. We wish Kelly nothing but the best." This person said, "She said you was rude about disabled people." Okay, hold up for a minute. Um, if someone says, so and so said that you were rude toward Black people, what are you going to say to that? I will tell you what I would say to that. I wouldn't say, "No, I wasn't." And I wouldn't flip out, um, and go into a giant rant about that person being evil or crazy, or I would say, "Wow, okay, um, that's surprising. What did they say?" Because if I said something racist or, racially insensitive, I wanna know so that I don't make the same mistake again. That's how I would approach that. Um, but that is not how Melanie approaches it because she's an ableist. So she comes back with the very dramatic response of, "Has she said she is planning to do something to us?" This is all projection, okay? Um, she has already stolen our credit card info and locked us out of accounts we paid for. She admitted to the theft on a Zoom call, but we have chosen not to make that public. Okay, I admitted to zero theft because there was no theft. And chosen to make that, you chose not to make that public. No, you chose not to file a police report, because that's what you need to do if somebody is stealing your credit card information. You file a police report. And I would love it if she did that because she would get in huge trouble with the law, and she knows that. Um, and obviously, a police report has never been filed. Um, but she then comes back with, I mean, this is just so unhinged. I can't even wrap my mind around how you respond to somebody who said something as benign as she said you were rude to disabled people. How you respond with something this completely off the rails, and the amount of ableism in this response is just staggering. It's scary when unstable people with all the time in the world and no job, yeah, shaming me for being on disability, um, threaten hardworking people who have carried the workload for them for months. Not true. Um, no wonder people have hacked her, threatened her, and her family is estranged. Um, I'm going to explain all this in a bit, what she's talking about. But I mean, as you can see, this is just, there's no excuse for this. Seems the problem is her, not the other people. A fan told us to be careful months ago when she was tweeting, accusing a guy of having Black babies buried in their basement. It's clear that not all accusations are true. Oh well. We still chose to be the bigger people here and rise above the lies, theft, and hate. If she says anything specific, please let us know. We appreciate it so much. We haven't done a thing to her, so this is scary. Okay. Obviously, they've done a whole lot, including that. Um, so this explanation on the right was to Kelly because I wanted to fill her in on everything that she was going up against when she decided to join my show. Um, so I said, "I'm not trying to over explain here. I know you believe me. I just wanted to shed some light on just how ridiculous this whole thing is. Number 1, I did everything except social media, as I've never been totally comfortable with it, but I still helped out as much as possible. Number 2, the person who messaged her was not a fan. It was the racist who was bragging about having Black babies buried in his basement. I saw a decent person attempting to reason with them, so I just commented, 'Please just ignore and report him. He was just talking about having Black babies buried in his basement.' He saw this and messaged Melanie saying, 'Is this your co host? You should probably get rid of her.'" So, Melanie is kind of showing some quiet racism here, in my opinion. Um, Number 3, she knows I was fired from 2 jobs because they refused to accommodate my disability. So she has no business shaming me for not having a job. I mean, talk about ableist. You're accused of ableism and you respond with more ableism. Um, she also knows that I'm estranged from my family for very serious reasons. But yeah, I mean, this is just completely batshit that somebody would respond this way. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I had done nothing. I had said nothing about them at all up to this point. Um, so back in April, I got over 30 reports against my channel for privacy violations because they were trying to destroy my channel because it was another attempt at them trying to steal my show because they had already copied my format and had 2 of the 3 hosts. You know, the last step was trying to get rid of me completely. Um, and there's believe me when I say there's no limit to how far they'll go with that. And I don't think that they would ever try to kill me. Um, but they would push me into harming myself, and they knew that. Um, but anyway, I got over 30 reports. So I, I mean, this is just YouTuber rule number 1. This is like cardinal sin number 1 for content creators. You don't do this to somebody. Um, and I've never retaliated once. So this is really scary. I have an abuser um, who was stalking me online for a bit, um, and his wife was sending me text messages telling me to self delete. Um, I'm trying to avoid specific language so I don't get restricted here on YouTube. But telling me like to end myself, whatever. Um, so all the way back in 2019, this person, my abuser, found me on Twitter. Didn't message me directly, but I got into it with a couple of alt writers um, about disability and trans issues, and they made some snotty comments to me, and my abuser liked their comments, and that's how I knew. And you get alerted when somebody likes a comment that you're mentioned in. You get alerted to that, and that's how I found out that this person was on Twitter. Okay, this was back when I was using my old account. At the time, Melanie was the only person who knew about that account. So I got a very um, so this user popped up by the name of Citizen Detective Laura. And I said, this is either Melanie or someone she recruited, but she's to blame because this is fucked up. She was following me. The Citizen Detective Laura person was following me and asked a somewhat tame but invasive question that raised my suspicions. So I checked her out. Okay. Um, she just joined in December 2022, okay, the month that we broke up. Um, I She only had 8 followers. Um, I checked out who she was following, and this was very strange. She was following Kelly, who was my co-host at the time, and she was following Guts Club, which was Kelly's wife's band, which was extremely strange because, like, I don't even think I knew yet that that was the name of Kelly's wife's band. Um, and then the other 2 people, I think, had actually left supportive comments for me publicly at some point. But the really scary part is that I checked out some of the posts that she liked. She only had 38 likes, okay, on posts. And 2 of them were from this conversation. Um, and I don't know why it says that the top one only has 1 like. I don't know if my abuser unliked that post, but he had liked both of these. So, and this was all the way back from 2019. So it basically, it was kind of her way of saying, like, "Guess what, bitch? I found him." So she knew my abuser's name, so she could look him up. This person fractured my skull. It's why I have a scar on my forehead. Um, and this she thought was appropriate, and I hadn't even outed them publicly or anything at that point. Um, I'm I wanted to show these tweets of mine because they kind of, explain why so much of this is so terrible. Um, so one says, "It never fails. I spend 6 years on Twitter retweeting and commenting on posts about abuse, ableism, and PTSD, and at least once a year, some weirdo thinks all of my tweets are about them." Another tweet says, "I do not feel safe speaking up. I'm fragile from decades of trauma and abuse, but I fight ableism because I have no choice. I am working on learning to love myself and treat myself with kindness so that I can one day feel ready to be louder for my other marginalized friends." And then I tweeted, "Silence is violence. We are not all in a place to fight back. If you are not feeling safe enough to speak up, please honor that and practice self-care so that you may one day be able to join us. But do not use your privilege to criticize others for fighting for their lives," which is exactly what my next co-host, Kelly, did. Um, so another thing, I mean, this is kind of like this, but this basically is just proof of them following me and, just constantly stalking me across platforms. Um, okay. So the day that Pamela and I were about to record our first podcast episode together, Pamela is my current co host and has been for almost a year now. The day that we were set to record together, um, she gets a message from Kelly. Um, it says, "Hi, Pamela. Not sure if this message will reach you or end up in your hidden folder, but I've been wanting to message you for a while. My name is Kelly McClure, and I used to be a former co host on Kelly Geist's Antler Queens podcast. I'm sending this message because I wish that someone had sent a similar one to me prior to working with KG. Speaking only for myself here and my experience with her, I have to say that she's very manipulative in the web she's weaving online. Since leaving her podcast, which I did due to a series of problematic behavior on her part, not true. um, she's emailed my boss, launched a smear campaign about me online, and seems to be relentless in her efforts. Although I've had zero contact with her since leaving. Not true. Um, there has been no review bombing or anything else she's been saying. Not true, at least on my part. I did put a Notes app explanation up on Twitter giving no names. Oh, but you definitely made sure that everybody knew who you were talking about, after receiving a bunch of emails asking what happened. But that's it. Anyway, likely none of this makes sense. I believed her whole thing for a long time too. Well, you should because you saw the proof. She had me convinced that her other former co-hosts were the devil until I actually spoke to them and got their side with zero proof. The common denominator is definitely KG in this, and I just wanted to give a heads up to be careful with that one. Um, so, I mean, she saw all of the proof before. Um, so anyway, these are she also did this a week before I was having a pretty big surgery, and she knew this. Um, I also need to point out that there is still a post on our Instagram from me back when it was still just me managing the show by myself, um, saying just basically begging people to please stop harassing me because I was getting so much goddamn hate, and I couldn't take it anymore, and I didn't want sorry, I'm just trying to trigger warning, okay? Um, turn off if you need to. Um, I didn't I went to sleep every night hoping that I wouldn't wake up in the morning. And when I did wake up, I was miserable because I woke up because I had to go through another day of hell. And I explained that. I put up a post on Instagram saying as much, saying that I'm in a severe mental health crisis and I'm a week away from surgery. I am begging you to leave me alone. You are messing with somebody who is in a really, really bad place right now. And she sent this on Instagram. She saw it. She saw that post and still sent Pamela this message. Of course, she also um, she also crashed my live right after I started talking about how I didn't want to go on anymore. Um, I've had I've dealt with passive SI for a very long time. I have chronic um, major depressive disorder and have for many, many years. Um, it goes hand in hand with my CPTSD. And SI is something that I've struggled a lot with, and it absolutely sucks. If you don't understand passive SI versus active SI, there is a difference, but it's still extremely dangerous. It's a dangerous place to be in, and I don't have active SI right now, but I'm still dealing with passive SI because of what has happened with these people and my show, specifically because of that and nothing else, because they took everything from me. Um, So she sent this as we were getting ready to record our first episode together. Um, Here are the things that bug me about this. So she had been wanting to message her for a while, she said, which means she was watching my content regularly, which is weird. But Pamela was not announced as my co-host for anything until like right before Kelly sent this. So she was essentially obsessively watching my stuff and then saw that Pamela was just a really involved and passionate viewer who frequently popped up during my after shows. Um, and that made Kelly want to reach out to her she just wanted to reach out to random followers of mine to to tell them not to believe me, that I doctored all of my evidence or whatever she wants to say. No, she did not send along anything to support her claim or any claims that, she didn't say anything that Melanie and Emily said and I'll get into why that is in a second. But so she waits until the last minute and right before my surgery. And that's why I call her the monster. Um, I don't even know how to be manipulative. I'm a fucking doormat, as you can see from my messages. Um, Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button in time and I had to sneeze. Um, anyway, you can see what a doormat I am in those messages. I mean, I don't even know how to be manipulative. Um, and this message of hers is like one of the most manipulative things I've ever seen. So, as for the series of problematic behavior of mine, which is why she left, and it's not, I mean, I have text messages from her proving as much, um, consisted of me saying I wanted to out Yellow Jackets Hive for their continued harassment and attempts to destroy my channel, but I had no plans to do so unless I actually ended the podcast over that. And me joking that Showtime probably thinks I'm going to try to sue them for disability discrimination. Um, so she doesn't get a say in me outing them. She doesn't get a say on that. Um, First of all, she had, if it's not her show, and I said that I was only going to do that if I ended the podcast, um, she doesn't get a say for that. But she also doesn't get a say in how a disabled person responds to ableist abuse. She does not get a say in that. Um, that's To call that problematic is unbelievable. And I hadn't even done anything. And that's basically why she left. She made me think that it was because of harassment or whatever. Um, but I mean, I had not done anything at that point. So, my message to her boss was unfortunately lost, but I didn't rat her out or anything. It was a message about something that she was doing in broad daylight that was affecting my mental health and it did cost me multiple large collaborators. And I basically just messaged her because her boss already knew that this was up there. And I asked her, like, hey, I'm like trying to sue these people. Can you maybe ask Kelly to take this down? Because this is really like making things a whole lot more complicated and is going to end up it may end up implicating Kelly and Salon if I'm able to sue. So it's really not a good idea to have that up there. Um, so there was no response to that. Anyway, I never launched a smear campaign against her. I've never once said I I had never once said anything about her until I put this thing together. She, however, and it's not a smear campaign if it's the truth, and I have never said anything untrue about her. She, however, has posted publicly to Twitter about me, omitting my name, but making it clear who she was talking about. Crashed a live episode of mine, libeled and slandered me to public figures, and tried to ruin any future success of mine with shit like this, trying to turn new co hosts against me. And she also did have contact with me since leaving. We exchanged several nice messages because I thought we were still friends still. And then she just blocked me and then crashed my live. Um, I never said that she review bombed me. I said we were getting review bombed by my ex co hosts, which we still are. And I don't know which ones are behind it, but she's still affiliated with them and cosigns on all their behavior. So she has no right to say anything like that, to deny it. Um, and here's the thing. When I was putting all this together, I realized something really scary. And that is that I believe that what happened is that Kelly, I think, saw how they were beating me down and saw that, Showtime had stopped responding to us for God knows whatever reason. And they stopped responding to us after they had talked to the Hive. Because what happened is the Hive, we both had interviews scheduled. Ours was with Josh Robiquet, the casting associate from Yellow Jackets. And I still have not been able to put that episode up because they'll report it and my channel could get taken down. So I'm still having to deal with this. Um, I don't want to lose my channel because I chose to air this interview, even though it's a false report. Um, I can't take that chance. And what happened is, so they had Kevin Alvis scheduled for an interview, and Showtime reached out to us and asked us to hold off on airing the Josh Ropiquet interview until later, because of their promotion schedule. And um, Kelly responded with something that I was very embarrassed by. I did not think this was very professional behavior on her part. So you want to talk about problematic behavior while we were co-hosts? This is what I consider problematic behavior. She responded to Showtime by telling them that a lesser quality, um, she was concerned because a lesser quality podcast has an interview scheduled um, with Kevin Alves. And so she, like, was she was worried about the fact that they were asking us to hold off. And Showtime responded by saying, that was not set up by us, and we will be getting in touch with them to ask them to delay the airing of it as well. So the Showtime publicity people spoke to them, and then they stopped responding to us altogether after they talked to them. And suddenly, the Hive started getting weekly guests, which, as you can see from this email, we were supposed to be getting. So this is a message from Cassidy at Showtime. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate your understanding, and we love you guys. We want to be good partners. We just want this rollout to be a little tighter. Blurred Name and I can start mapping out weekly guests for you guys as we get in season as well. We're always here if there's anything that you need. Thank you, Cassidy. And as you can see, I've got the Showtime address there. Well, they're not here. They're not always there for anything we need because they stopped talking to us after this. We never got weekly guests set up, but Yellow Jackets Hive did. And so I think what happened is that Kelly saw that they were getting guests suddenly and kind of took the attitude, if you can't beat them, join them. So I asked her, we were trying to figure out, like, she was just checked out because she was so annoyed with Showtime not responding to us. And it was really annoying me. Like, just quit the podcast or get on the same page with me. Just don't just like check out. Um, so I'm like, I'm trying to come up with a resolution, and I just asked her, I don't, I'm still new at all of this. I'd never had a podcast before. I've never dealt with network people. And I just asked her, and I have all the messages of me sending this to her too. I just asked her, do you think that we should tell Showtime that we're worried about them maybe not getting back to us because maybe we were defamed to them? And Kelly said, "Yeah, that's a good idea." And I told her, "Okay, I'll write an email and I will send it to you so you can see it first, and then you let me know if you think this looks good to send." I didn't know if this was a good idea. That's why I was asking for her opinion, because she's worked with these people for a long time. And so she said, "Yeah." So I wrote the email, I sent it to her, and she texted me back, "This looks good. Go ahead and send it." Um, so what I think happened, she saw that the Hive was getting guests. And when I suggested sending an email, um, I think she thought it was a bad idea and figured it wouldn't go over well. So she told me to do it so that she could basically go to Showtime behind my back and apologize, um, and kind of defame me to them further, um, because she wanted to hook up with the Hive. Now, obviously, Kelly already is a public figure with a much bigger platform than us, but she was really eager to be on a podcast because it would further her, it would expand her platform. Um, and some of the things that Salon was planning on doing with our podcast, um, would have done that. So I really believe she set me up, um, all because she thought that she would have more success with the bullies than with the person being beaten down. Because and there's more stuff that goes along with this. So, unfortunately, the motherboard on my phone died suddenly last year, and text could not even get into it to retrieve my messages. I switched from a Galaxy back to an iPhone, so the only text messages that I have saved between myself and Kelly M are what I deemed necessary to screenshot. And unfortunately, one of the things lost was my conversation with her where Showtime had been ghosting us. And, I asked her opinion on the email and everything. Um, so that was all lost, unfortunately. Um, so I sent her this email. And as you can see from the subject line, it says, "Let me know what you think of this." And it is sent to Kelly. Um, and it's the email that I ended up sending to Showtime because she said that it looked good. And I told her I wouldn't do anything that we were both all in on. And I sent this to Kelly, and the very next day, or I sent this to Showtime. The very next day, she texted me to tell me that she already emailed Showtime to tell them that she was leaving the podcast. She told them before she told me. I was blown away by the shadiness of this, but I was so traumatized by everything at the time and was just in such a full-blown mental health spiral that I didn't even realize what she was doing. I embarrassingly thought that we were still friends. And, I suffer from chronic major depressive disorder with, like I said, with chronic passive SI, CPTSD, and ADHD, and have a very limited support system due to me being estranged from my family for very good reasons, for my own safety and for and being disabled. I'm completely isolated. So, stuff like this is potentially life-threatening for me, and it almost was, and I'm gonna get into the most triggering of it soon. So, I asked Kelly the next day if she would reconsider, and she sent this text message. I'm so glad to hear you're feeling better today. Please know this has nothing to do with anything you did to me or any concern over you not being a good person. I know you're a good person and that you'll get past all of this. I need to stick with my decision though, but I really do wish you the best of luck with the podcast. In your pursuits to keep it going, I do ask that you please leave me and Salon out of it. I'd really like this to end on good terms. So I don't know what the fuck she meant about that. Um, so uh, these were just kind of eh, unimportant emails that you can see later on. But he was pushing me to remove her name from everything, even though, like, I I actually told her because I thought we were still friends that I was thinking of checking into a hospital because I didn't think I was going to survive. Um, and the day after I finished, but she was, knowing how like how distraught I was, she was still just fucking going at me to remove her name from everything. And the day after I finished removing her name, um, I woke up to a notification that she had blocked me. But Twitter was having one of its freakouts again. And some of you guys might remember when this is happening. Suddenly, like, even if you had blocked somebody, your tweets were just available, like, to be seen. So because had been following her previously, she came up in my feed. Because it was having a freak out. And, her tweets suddenly weren't blocked. So I saw this and it said, gone to a place of notes app. A few months ago, I signed on as a co host of a Yellow Jackets podcast, thinking it would be a fun way to further cover my favorite show. I parted ways after only a few episodes due to some problematic behavior on the part of my former co host, which you now know is not true. This person is currently on a warpath and trying to grab at whatever she can on the way down. If you see something, just know I have no part of it. I'm just over here trying to eat Ritz crackers and live my life. The mess of it all, I say, the mess. So I mean, the warpath was basically me just posting that tweet about Yellow Jackets Hive stealing my IP. Um, that was it. Um, so yeah. Um, and I think, hang on just one second here. I think okay, and yeah, and that's all that I included, in the presentation. I literally have never done a single thing to these people. They keep saying that they have a different side, that, like, they have their side of the story. There is no they don't have a side. I've only I've shown all of the proof, and I haven't even brought up things that they've done that I don't have documentation for, because then it's just accusations with no proof, and I don't do that. Um, I just what the scariest thing of this all is that they they knew that I was struggling with SI, and they still continued to do things to deliberately worsen my mental health crisis. Um, I really think that they wanted me to not be on the planet anymore, and they were just hoping that I would do something about it. Because why else would they do that? Why else would they behave that way? Um, the one thing that saved me last year was my after shows. And while they were getting guests from Showtime, we still had I still had more people, um, participating in my after shows than they did even when they had guests on. And those after shows saved my life. They literally saved my life. I did not want to exist anymore. And at at one point last year, I remember doing a live on just a few hours notice, and over 200 people showed up. Um, Now I get like 5 if I do a live. Um, and which really hurts because it makes me think that, I was giving away a jacket last year that I got from Showtime, and it makes me think that I didn't maybe I didn't have the support that I thought I did, and people were just showing up and offering support because of the jacket giveaway. And then once the jacket giveaway was done, they all just, people just wanted nothing to do with me. And I'm not saying everybody, but some of those people have blocked me and unfollowed me and are following Yellow Jackets Hive, even after seeing some of the stuff. And I don't somebody even started a thread about me and said that basically said that I looked sketchy because I privated everything. But I went private because the massive amounts of hate I was getting. I mean, people basically telling me like that they they hoped my surgery they hoped something went wrong during my surgery. Um, I got so much hate right after my surgery, immediately following my surgery. Um, and I don't understand why there's so much hatred for disabled people. But there is, and it's out of control, and it's because we're not seen as real people. Um, that's why when somebody posted a video on Twitter of someone putting a small disabled person, into a garbage bag, a clear garbage bag, and swinging them around, and you could see the person screaming and in extreme distress. Um, so many people were laughing at it. They thought it was hilarious. Um, it's whenever there's discourse between non-disabled people and disabled people, watch how disabled people are talked to. We're not seen as human, and I think that's why nobody wants anything to do with me now. Um, I don't know what they've said to people. I have no idea because nobody has the guts to tell me. Um, if they have any proof against me, then it's completely manufactured because I've done nothing to them. Um, I have too strong of a conscience. It would drive me nuts if I ever deliberately hurt anybody. As you can see from our message exchanges, like, I didn't even wanna hurt them when I was trying to stick up for myself. I was a fucking doormat because I was so afraid of offending them or being mean. Um, None of this is okay. They only have a platform because I gave them one. I brought them on my show, and they started their own because they didn't want a disabled co-host. They thought it was embarrassing. And that is the only reason that they have a show. So if you're listening to them or watching them, that's what you're supporting. You're supporting silencing disabled content creators. Um, these are women with jobs. These are privileged women with jobs. I live on SSDI because companies refuse to make accommodations, and there are so many legal loopholes that they can use to discriminate against disabled people, and that's what happened. That's what happened to me in my last 2 jobs, and that's why I can't work anywhere because accommodations are a joke. It's, the ADA, it's a great concept, but it's too easy to get around it. Um, I live on SSDI. I don't have anything. I don't have a savings. Um, my husband, like, has spent all of his savings, like, on medical bills. I mean, we're constantly in fear of losing our house. Um, I need a procedure badly because I'm in pain again. The procedure would totally solve my problem, but I can't afford it. Um, the other night when we were streaming on our Antler Queens rewatch, I always give out a link for people to call in if they want to. And a guy by the name of William Moore popped in and exposed himself to us. We banned him, and he came back and did it again, which tells me this was personal. I mean, he had to know it didn't come from Twitch. Um, I saw the viewers on Twitch. It did not come from Twitch. So he had to know that this was happening because we have no visibility. Nobody's watching my channel anymore. My channel's dead because of everything they've done. Um, I desperately need help with the channel. I need social media and editing help. And I can't even get help with it because, I mean, I'm I'm radioactive. No one wants anything to do with me because either because they've told people horrible things about me or because they see me as starting drama. This isn't drama. This is holding very, very bad people accountable for doing some really, really terrible things. Um, I can't sue because I don't have money for an attorney. So this is my only recourse, and I'm the only one holding them accountable. So I'm just seen as a joke because nobody cares. I'm the only one that cares. I mean, yeah, there are others who care, and I greatly appreciate the support that I've gotten, but I'm the only one publicly holding them accountable. Um, I don't feel safe. I don't feel like this is a safe space for me. And that really sucks because we need more disabled voices. And I don't know if I can keep going, um, because my live shows, which is what literally saved my life last year, um, I have so much fun with the few people who show up, but when I see people that used to come to my live shows last year that are now blocking me, that now have me blocked, and it just and then things like that happen with the guy exposing himself. I just don't really enjoy life right now, and I started this because I wanted to encourage positivity and inclusion within fandoms, and I've had such a hellish experience. Um, Showtime has never responded to me, by the way, um, and Kelly's boss never responded to my message to her. Um, I have been told okay, Yellow Jackets Hive has been, um, has been taken over by not ta I don't know, they've been absorbed into I don't know what the deal is, but it seems like they're kind of being slowly absorbed into cordcutting.com. Um, I have been told that this guy, Steven, who is the founder of cord cutting or co-founder, um, I think he's the president, I don't know. I've been told that by somebody that they actually emailed him about all of this when they saw my post online with all of these files. Um, so he hasn't reached out to me at all about it. Um, he hasn't responded to that person, because they said that they would let me know if they had heard from him. But I I can't stress this enough. Please don't harass anybody in here, okay? There's a difference between harassing people and holding them accountable. You can share on Instagram, whatever. You can share my stuff publicly. You can even tag them on it. I don't care. None of that bothers me. I just don't want anybody harassing them. But holding them accountable is something completely different. Just don't create a bad situation for yourself, um, where, you're gonna get in trouble for doing something silly. So that's it. I mean, I'm hiding nothing, nothing. I mean, I like I said, um, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep going. Right now, getting through each day is a huge accomplishment for me, um, because lately I'm, you know, not really wanting to wake up most of the time. Um, Please don't call police or alert authorities. I'm not planning on doing anything. Okay, there's a difference between passive SI and active SI, even though they're both dangerous. There's a difference. Okay, um, but I'm just I'm really struggling because of all of this, and I just feel like there's no place for me as a disabled content creator, and that I shouldn't feel safe, and I can't keep going feeling like that. So I'm sorry this took so long. Um, I'm breaking it into parts um, to make it easier to digest, but I'm going to put this all up in one shot at first. Um, if you want to donate to my medical slash legal fund, I do hope to be able to get an attorney and go after them one day. Um, you can support me directly via Cash App at Cyborg Queen. Um, I also have tips on my Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me. Um, that says Facebook, but I'm not on Facebook at that name. But I'm on Instagram and X at Antler Queen Cal. And if you want to support Cyborg Queen, you can join our Patreon, which is patreon.com/cyborg queen media. If you want to support, if you want to follow our Yellow Jackets or Walking Dead or Reddit content for as long as we're able to keep it going, you can follow us at youtube.com/at cyborg queen media. And this new channel, our second channel, cyborg youtube.com/at cyborg queen 2 will be the home for actually this is where our Reddit content is going to be. It's going to be housed. So don't go to Cyborg Queen Media for Reddit content. Come here for that. And any disability and mental health stuff. Also, if you would like to be a guest on Cyborg DisCo to discuss mental health or disability issues, um, I would love to speak with you. I'm looking for people that have a story that they want to share, especially if you have a story to share from an intersectionally marginalized viewpoint. So if you're Black and disabled, or if you're trans and disabled, um, I would love to hear from you. And I'm sure you've got a lot of great things to inform people about that they need to know. So yeah, I really want this to be kind of a story sharing platform. Um, it's I want it to be kind of fun, but still like hit at serious topics. Um, so this was no really serious episode because this is a lot of trauma that I'm dealing with. Um, but in general, I don't really take myself too seriously. So um, we'll be talking about serious topics and probably cracking up while talking about them. So that's just how I deal with stuff. Um, Anyway, thanks for sticking it through all of this. And you can feel free to reach out to me on social media. But if you reach out to me with hate, I'm gonna file it away. And if I ever am able to afford an attorney, we're gonna find out where everything is coming from. So, just keep that in mind, okay? Um, don't push somebody who's already traumatized enough. All right, guys. Um, take care of yourselves and peace out.